3 days before the biggest goal of his international career, he turned 17. Not 27, not 37. 17, and he curled a left-footed shot from 25 yards into the top corner of the net against France in a European Championship semifinal to become the youngest scorer in the tournament's history. That player is Lamine Yamal, and the story of how a kid from a working-class neighborhood outside Barcelona arrived at the 2026 World Cup as one of its most dangerous players is the kind of story that doesn't follow any timeline that football prepared us for. Roca Fonda is not a name that appears in many football histories. It is a neighborhood on the northern edge of Mataró, a city of around 130,000 people sitting about 18 miles up the Catalan coast from Barcelona. The streets there are tight, the apartment blocks close together, and the rent is low enough for working families to stay. Munir Nasraoui arrived from Morocco with very little. He found work in construction, settled in Roca Fonda, and raised his son there alongside the boy's mother, Sheila Abana, who had come to Catalonia from Equatorial Guinea. Lamine Yamal Nasraoui Abana was born on July 13, 2007. After his parents separated, he split time between Mataró and the nearby town of Granollers. But Roca Fonda stayed with him. His grandmother, who made the journey from Morocco to Spain in 1990 and built a life in that same neighborhood, remained a constant presence. She still lives there. He still visits. Every time he scores, he raises his hands and makes the number 304 with his fingers, the postcode of the street where he grew up. That gesture is not a brand. It is not a calculated trademark. It is a kid telling anyone watching exactly where he came from, over and over, no matter which stadium he is standing in. And here's what most people who know this story don't know. Barcelona scouts were watching him at the age of 5. He joined La Masia, Barcelona's world-renowned youth academy, at age 7, in 2014. The academy is not known for rushing players. It is patient, methodical, and rarely wrong about timelines. But Yamal made the timeline irrelevant. Youth coaches moved him up age groups repeatedly because there was simply no point keeping him with players his own age. At 13, he was playing for the under-16s. By 2022, he had skipped another year group entirely to train with the under-19s. His former youth coach Oscar Lopez described how the club managed him carefully, not rushing him, but not holding him back either. By the time he was 15, Barcelona's first-team manager Xavi Hernandez had seen enough. He started integrating Yamal into senior training sessions, not as an observer, as a participant. Then came April 29, 2023. Yamal came off the bench against Real Betis. He was 15 years and 291 days old. The record for Barcelona's youngest ever player had stood since 1922, over a century, and he erased it in 10 minutes of substitute time. He touched the ball 12 times. He had a shot on goal. 5 months later, playing for the Spanish national team against Georgia, he became Spain's youngest player and youngest goalscorer at 16 years and 57 days old. That broke the record previously held by Gavi, who had set it at 17. In October 2023, he scored against Granada to become the youngest goalscorer in La Liga history. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. When Spain arrived at Euro 2024 in Germany, Yamal was 16 years old. He had not yet celebrated his 17th birthday. He stepped onto the field for Spain's opening group game against Croatia and immediately became the youngest player in European Championship history. He did not look like a teenager who should have been worrying about exams. He looked like the best player on the pitch. Spain won every game they played, 6 straight victories, the first team to do that in the tournament's history. Through the group stage, through the knockout rounds, all the way to a semi-final against France in Munich. France scored first, 9 minutes in. And then Yamal collected the ball outside the penalty area, shaped onto his left foot, and hit a curling shot that cleared the goalkeeper's outstretched hands and clipped off the inside of the post into the net. He was 16 years and 362 days old. His 17th birthday was 3 days away. That goal broke the record for the youngest scorer in European Championship history by more than a year. Spain went on to win 2-1. 4 days later, they beat England in the final to claim their 4th European Championship. Yamal finished the tournament as Young Player of the Tournament, and his goal against France was voted Goal of the Tournament by UEFA's technical observers. He went home to Roca Fonda that summer as a European champion, still too young to buy a drink in most countries. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. The summer after Euro 2024 brought a decision that no 17-year-old in football had faced before. Barcelona needed to assign its iconic number 10 jersey. The shirt had belonged to Lionel Messi from 2008 until his departure in 2021, 13 years in which Messi wore it to 10 La Liga titles and 4 Champions League trophies. After Messi left, the number passed to Ansu Fati, who spent years battling injuries and never truly made it his own. When Fati moved on loan to Monaco, the number became available. Barcelona gave it to Yamal on the day he signed a new contract running until 2031, a deal reportedly worth around $15 million per season. The club handed him the shirt that Messi and Ronaldinho had worn before him. He was 18 years old. His response when asked about the pressure of following Messi? "I'm under no pressure. I'll continue enjoying myself with a different number." Then he went out in Barcelona's La Liga opener and scored a goal in his official debut wearing it, cutting inside past 3 defenders and finishing hard into the bottom corner. Within 24 hours, Barcelona had sold 70,000 shirts with his name on the back. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around him saw coming. Before the 2025-26 season had even taken shape, the Yamal family faced something far more serious than football. In August 2024, Munir Nasraoui, Lamine's father, the Moroccan immigrant who had worked construction jobs in Rocafanda and been in the stands at every significant game his son ever played, was attacked in a car park in Mataró. He was stabbed multiple times. Spanish newspaper La Vanguardia reported his condition as serious but stable. Arrests were made. The neighborhood that raised Yamal was shaken. Munir was not just a proud parent. He was a fixture of Rocafanda, recognized in local bars, embraced by neighbors who had watched him beam with pride during every one of his son's milestones. His recovery took time, and throughout it, Lamine Yamal kept playing. Coaches praise that kind of composure from a distance. From the inside, it is something else entirely. The teenager who grew up splitting time between 2 households, playing dusty street football within walking distance of where his grandmother still lives, carried all of that into a season in which he was being asked to wear the shirt of the greatest player the club had ever produced. His father made a full recovery and returned to attending matches. The 304 gesture continued every time his son scored. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. The 2025-26 season was the one where the argument about Lamine Yamal's ceiling stopped being hypothetical. Wearing the number 10, playing in a Barcelona side under Hansi Flick, he delivered a season that analysts and former players ran out of comparisons for. 16 goals and 11 assists in La Liga, the highest assist total of any player in the division. No other wide player across the top 5 European leagues matched his average performance rating. In February 2026, against Villarreal, he scored a hat-trick, the first of his professional career, in a 4-1 win, and became the youngest player of the 21st century to score 3 goals in a single La Liga game. Barcelona won the league title. Yamal was named La Liga Player of the Season. In the Champions League, he added 6 goals and 4 assists in 10 appearances. In September 2025, he became the first player in history to win the Copa Trophy, awarded annually to the world's best player under 21, in consecutive years. He finished second in the Ballon d'Or behind Ousmane Dembélé. By the time a hamstring injury cut his season short in April 2026, sustained in a routine match against Celta Vigo, he had accumulated 9 major trophies before his 19th birthday. 9 trophies, before he can legally purchase alcohol in the United States, where his next challenge now awaits. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. Spain arrived at the 2026 World Cup as one of the tournament favorites. The same group that won Euro 2024, Rodri in midfield, Nico Williams on the opposite flank, a deep and cohesive squad almost entirely under the age of 25, is now pointed at the biggest prize in the sport. Yamal was named in the 26-man squad, but the hamstring injury has complicated his preparation. He did not feature in any of Spain's warm-up fixtures. Barcelona's medical staff have reportedly outlined a cautious plan for his minutes. Limited time in the opening group game against Cape Verde on June 15, gradually building toward the knockout rounds. Spain's coach Luis de la Fuente has expressed confidence. He has said he has no doubt Yamal will be ready for that opener in Atlanta, and the record books are waiting. Yamal was 15 during the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, still months away from making his Barcelona debut. He watched that tournament as a youth player. He enters this one as arguably the most gifted attacker in the competition. There is also a detail in this story that most coverage overlooks. In 2007, A 6-month-old Lamine Yamal appeared in a UNICEF promotional photo, alongside a young Lionel Messi. The two of them, the man widely regarded as the greatest player of all time, and the infant who would one day inherit his jersey number, captured together before either of them could have known what the other would become. Messi is at this World Cup too, 40 years old, still playing. It is, almost certainly, his last, and the player who will one day define the next era of the sport is standing on the same turf, trying to win the same trophy, recovering from a hamstring injury, with the number 10 on his back. The story of Lamine Yamal is not really a football story. It is a story about a kid from a working-class neighborhood outside Barcelona, whose family crossed continents to build something, and who channeled all of that, the postcode, the grandmother, the father in the stands, the dusty street pitches, into a career that has already broken records built across a century of the sport. He turned 18 on July 13 last year. The World Cup starts 5 days after his 19th birthday. Whether the hamstring allows him to be fully available, whether Spain can go all the way, whether a teenage winger from Rocafonda can deliver the tournament that would make him the defining player of his generation, those questions get answered over the coming weeks. What is already answered is how he got here. Do you think Lamine Yamal is ready to carry Spain to a World Cup title, or does the injury risk make him a liability going into the knockout rounds? Let us know below.